הרינו לא עומדים לעילוי נשמס אבימורי ולהצלוחס הצולוס כל כלל ישראל. We are in Amud Yomi, Rabbi Say. Let's learn another inspiring, amazing Amud of the Gemara HaKadoisha, Kiddushin, Daf, Ein Dalad Amud Aleph. We're in the bottom of the page. Today's page is Ein Dalad Amud Beis, but we are still behind a little bit. Kol Asur in Lova B'Kohol. We're learning here about Sulei Chitun, about who you can marry, you cannot marry. Even if you're married already, you still have to know, who are we allowed to marry? Says the Heilige Mishnah, Kol ha'asurin lo v'bekol, mutorim lo v'zeh b'zeh. So the Mishnah, L'choira, is telling me as follows. Tanakama says, Kol ha'asurin lo v'bekol, whoever is not allowed to marry into the, I would say, mainstream regular Jewish people, the kohol. Who are those people who are not allowed to marry regular Yidden? These are mamzerim, right, and the like, which is the Givoni, the mamzerim and the Sinim, thank you, and of the Sfekas, which are Shtukim and Asufim, right? There's a mamzer, there's a Sofik mamzer. So they mutorim lo v'zeh b'zeh. A mamzer may marry a Sofik mamzer, and it's not a problem. Yeah, why? Maybe the Shtuki is really kosher. That's a chiddush. They're not allowed to lavoy bekohol, but they can come be Sofik kohol, right? Or mamzer v'loy Sofik mamzer. So as long as there's a Sofik, it's okay, right? And therefore, a Shtuki may marry a mamzer. And we have to define very well what's asurin lovei b'kohol. Right now, the assumption is mamzerim. Usually, when we say also lovei b'kohol, the one who's not allowed to join the congregation of Hashem is a mamzer. So all types of mamzerim, zerim, shtukim, and the like, they are allowed to marry each other. Opinion number one, Tanakama. Rabbi Yehuda oiser. Rabbi Yehuda forbids that. Those three words, Rabbi Yehuda oiser, is going to give us a lot of headache. The Gemara is going to have many problems because of that statement, Rabbi Yehuda oiser, right? We have to understand what it means, Rabbi Yehuda oiser. Seemingly, according to what we just said, what I told you, what's Rabbi Yehuda saying? That a Safik mamzer, a shtuki, is not allowed to marry a mamzer. That seems to be what Rabbi Yehuda says. Okay, let's leave that aside, okay? Because it's not so simple. What? Who? Oh, that's another thing. Here comes a third opinion. Slowly. No, not question time yet. Third opinion, Rabbi Lezer Oimer, Vadan bevadan mutar, if Vadei mamzer with the Vadei mamzeres, or vice versa, vice versa, Vadei mamzer, Vadei mamzeres are allowed to marry each other. Vadon, the Sfek and the Vadon, if Vadai with the Sofek, which is really the same thing twice, let's say mamzer with a Shtukis, or vice versa, the Sfekan also, wow, and even a Sofek, the Sofek, even a maybe with a maybe are not allowed to get married. Wow. In other words, the shtuki and the shtukis cannot get married. Why? Because maybe he is good, maybe she is good. In other words, Rabbi Elazar is one who's so machmir, and he says a maybe should not marry a mamzer, and not even a suffix with a suffix, because maybe you are 50% treif, she is 50% treif, maybe you're kosher and she is treif. In other words, Rabbi Elazar is concerned about even Sofik, right? You're asking who would you marry? A Gioris. L'choyer, they can only marry Gerim. The Eller and the Sfekas, who are called Sfekas, Shtuki, Asufi, Vekuti. Shtuki Vasufi, we mentioned already. What's a Shtuki? Let's just refresh our memories. Shtuki, we know who the mother is. She gave birth in Shari Tzedek. Everybody saw, we know, but who's the father? It's a very good question. Yeah. And Asufi is the one who is a foundling, is a collecting. He is the one who was collected from the street, and we don't know neither the father nor the mother. So we don't know the origin, maybe a mamzer. But kuti is the whole business of itself. It's not the focus of today's shir. We know that kutim for a long time had this very questionable, sort of a dubious kind of character of suffix, whether the gerus was a real gerus. The suffix, whether the Jewish or not, b'chlal, because they're ger arayas, they converted by force, not by will, and therefore there's a question whether they're called Jewish. Eventually they were found out to be goyim gemurim, but at the end of the day, kutim are sofik. But that's not the issue right now. Let's now start and break up the Mishnah and see. So there are three opinions: Tanakama, Rabbi Yehuda, and Rabbi Elazar. Right? 1, 2, 3. Let's see how they work out. The first statement was what? Before we start the Gemara, whoever is osur lova b'kohol, which I would say means mamzerim, right? The mutarim lova zeh b'zeh, mamzerim and half mamzerim, shtukim, they're okay with each other. Okay, frek the Gemara. My kol asur in lova b'kol. What did Tanakama mean when he said Asur Nova Bakol? Well, the natural choice would be Ilema, if you want to tell me, Mamzeri Unesini, comma, Shtuki Vasufi, Mamzerim Nesinim are Vade Mamzerim, Nesinim are the Rabbonon, but the Mamzerim. Shtuki Vasufi are maybes, and the maybes can marry the for sure. Okay, that's nice. But if so, there are two questions that come to mind. Hatana Lereisha, we already learned it at the beginning of the Perek. We learned it in the previous Mishnah. We learned, and the Gemara is going to quote now, Mamzeri Unesini, Shtuki Vasufi, Mutom Lo Vazeh Vazeh. We learned already Mefurish in the Mishnah, right? That all these for sure problematic or maybe problematic, they're all allowed to marry each other. And therefore, why does the Mishnah, Tanakama, why does he have to repeat what he said, right? It's just repetitive. The two. And another question about Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda Oiser, 3 words. Rabbi Yehuda Oiser. Who exactly did he forbid? Yeah, who did he not like? Who was he coming to be more strict with? Ahaya, on what? Ahaya, on who? On what? Regarding what is he talking? Ilema avadon besfeikon. If you want to tell me, as I read the Mishnah, yeah, maybe Rabbi Yehuda is referring to Tanakama's statement, and he says, no, I think vadon besfeikon are also, yeah, the ones that are for sure, and with a maybe, a mamzer and the shtukis cannot marry. Okay, but if so, the rest of the Mishnah, the next part of the Mishnah is not going to make sense. Why? It says in the third part of the Mishnah, the third opinion says, in other words, Rabbi Lezer is the one who said that the Shur mamzer with a maybe mamzeres, they cannot marry each other. Sounds like Rabbi Lezer is the one who came up with that idea, with that chumrah. Michlal, that is to say, from here I can derive, Michlal, the Rabbi Yehuda lo svir alei. From here it's mashma. The Rabbi Yehuda was not as strict, right? Okay. In other words, Rabbi Yehuda is between a rock and a hard place. If Rabbi Yehuda is what talking about Tanakama, yeah, and he's telling me what he's referring to Tanakama, saying that Sofik and Vadai can't marry each other, then Rabbi Lezer and Rabbi Yehuda are repeating each other. They're saying the same thing. Doesn't make sense. It sounds Rabbi Yehuda is mechadish and Rabbi Lezer another chidush. They're really saying the same thing. And besides, Tanakama doesn't make sense anyways, because why is Tanakama repeating what he said before? The chitema. The chitema, maybe want to suggest another idea. Let's refresh our memories. Rabbi Yehuda Oiser, you know what Rabbi Yehuda Oiser means? It doesn't mean mamzer shtukis, no. It means ager b'mamzeres. That actually could make sense factually. If you remember the previous few shiurim ago, we said, according to Rabbi Yehuda was more the way he learned the sugi of gerim, the drosha of gerim, was putting the gerim on a high pedestal, basically, in higher status. And Rabbi Yehuda said that gerim are part of the kohol, gerim are kohol, and therefore a ger should not marry a mamzeres. Yeah, gerim and mamzerim are not allowed to be with each other, to marry each other. So maybe that's what Rabbi Yehuda means. Maybe when Rabbi Yehuda said osur, he meant to say what? My own shita that I said before in the Braisa, now it's in the Mishnah, and it wasn't mentioned before in the Mishnah. So it's not old news. Rabbi Yehuda is now telling us, first time inside the Mishnah, that a ger and a mamzeres are allowed, and that's, are not allowed. What did I say? Not allowed. Because ger and kohol, lo yovo b'kal Hashem, the mamzer should not marry gioris, vice versa. That's a chiddush of Rabbi Yehuda, and that makes very nice. Makes sense. Says the Gemara, no. Midi, it doesn't. It's very nice as of itself, the statement, but it doesn't plug nicely into our Mishnah. Why? Midi ger b'mamzeres ktani, kol asurin lo v'bakol ktani. Look at Tanakama. Rabbi Yehuda seems to relate to Tanakama, right? Rabbi Yehuda says one word. Whatever you say, Tanakama, I say osur. You allow and I forbid. What did Tanakama speak about? You want to tell me Rabbi Yehuda spoke about ger and a mamzeres, or mamzer and gioris? It doesn't make sense because relating to Tanakama. Tanakama said asurin lova b'kol. You tell me, are gerim also lova b'kol? Pas v'shalom. A ger is allowed to marry a regular Jew. Happens all the time. Many balachuva marry gerim, or gerim can marry anybody. Except for gioris with a coin, fine, etc. But actually, a ger man is allowed to marry more than anybody else. Not so miskinim. Can marry kohenis, can marry mamzeres, can marry whatever he wants, and he's part of the kohol. So technically speaking, our Mishnah does make sense. Because the only chiddush Rabbi Yehuda can come up with is what? Is his chiddush from the Brisa, that a ger and mamzeres are not okay to marry. But then it's not relating nicely into Tanakama, because Tanakama said asurim bekol. So asurim bekol does not mean gerim. And if Rabbi Yehuda relates to that, right? If Rabbi Yehuda relates to that, it's not true. You're talking about ger and mamzeres, gerim are not also lova bekol. So you're singing not the same song with Tanakama. Omar of Yuda. So now we have to come to a different solution altogether. And from now on, you should just realize that one of those Gemaras are going to ask and answer and ask and answer again and again and come up with, a lot of rejections until we find the gold. So all we have to know now, I'm just, equipping, give you the equipment. What we have to now find out time and again is, what does the statement of Tanakama, Kol Asurin Lova B'Kol, mean? That's what the question is. Yeah. What kind of asurim lova b'kol we talk about that Tanakama says is okay and Rabbi says not okay? Remember, the job description we have here, the rule of the game is what? Tanakama said asurim lova b'kol, whoever they are, and they're okay to be with others, whatever that is. And Rabbi says no, those asurim lova b'kol, that's a variable in the formula. Yeah, that's a variable. That's an X. The variable is, who are those asurim lova b'kol that Tanakama said are allowed to be with, say, mamzerim, let's say, and Rabbi said are not. Omar of Yuda. So Rabbi Yuda says, Omar of Yuda, hachi ka'omar. Now don't get confused, please, over here. Who's talking here? Rav Yehuda. Is Rav Yehuda Tanner or Amoiro? Of course, he's in Amoiro. Don't confuse him with the Rabbi Yehuda. It's Rav Yehuda. Who was the Talmud of who? Rav Yehuda was the Talmud of Rav Shmuel, Shmuel, Shinena. Shmuel liked him, he called him Shinena, sharp one. So Rabbi Yehuda the Amoira is going to explain the Mishnah, the opinions of Tanakama and Rabbi Yehuda the Tana. Hachikomo. Explanation number one, attempt number one. Kol asurim lov bekal kehuna. When Tanakama spoke about asurim lovo bekol, he did not mean davka, the call of osam lova b'kol of the general people, such as gerim. Gerim are allowed to marry regular Jews. He spoke about those who are not allowed to marry a kohen. Who is not allowed to marry a kohen? Besides Mamzer, what? A gioros. Very nice, beautiful. And now we're going to add an additional layer to that. Mainihu. Who are those who cannot marry kohanim? Let's add another detail. Yeah, we're going to explain that soon. Basically, what? the Gioris, even if she is below 3 years old, which means that even if Khalila, anybody was with her, you know what I mean? She's not a Zoina, because the Bia of a girl below 3 is not called Bia. So one below 3 years old, Gioris, once born, wow. Once born. Yeah, she was born to, who she was born to? The Mackenzie and his wife. Yeah. So now, once born, and she was Megayer when she was less than 3 years old with her parents. Yeah. Well, then she was Bas Mitzvah later, a whole story. But Lamaisa, she's what? She's now a Gioris. She is not allowed to be with a Kohen. So the Gerim, now, by the way, that makes sense. Let's stop here for a second before we continue, because I don't want you to lose the thread. Tanakama basically is talking about a Gioris that cannot come b'kohol, not call you and me, but call of the kohen. She cannot marry any kohen. Oh, very good, great. On her, said Rabbi Yehuda, very good. That's my good old stuff. I'm telling you now that Gioires may marry who? She's not allowed to marry a mamzer. Very good. Same Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda is as we wanted to explain it before. We're talking about a Gioires and a mamzer. They are not allowed to marry each other. Rabbi Yehuda Oiser, and who is he relating to? To Tanakama. Tanakama did not speak about regular mamzerim. No, Tanakama spoke about a Gioires. Tanakama said a Gioires who is even below 3 may not marry a kohen, right? That Gioires is allowed to be zebazeh, meaning what? It's not talking about mamzeri and shtuki. He's talking about a Gioires marrying what? Marrying a mamzer. And a Gioris is allowed to marry a mamzer, and that's what Tanakama said. It says Rabbi Yehuda, no, a Gioris cannot marry mamzer. Why did Tanakama say also lova b'kol? Yes, b'kal kohanim. Kohanim have their own congregation, very up there, snobbish, and she's not allowed to be with a kohen, marry a kohen. Says Tanakama, she is allowed to be with a mam, to marry a mamzer. Says Rabbeinu, no, Giyaris cannot marry a mamzer, as I said before. Very nice. Now let's go to the details of below or above 3. What does it mean not against Rab Shimon ben Yochai? Because there was no Meiron this year. What does it mean not Rab Shimon ben Yochai? Rab Shimon ben Yochai is more makel, and he says he's of an opinion that a girl below 3, she was Migayer when she was with her parents, of course, that they did it, yeah, and she was below 3, she can marry a Kohen. Mr. and Mrs. Mackenzie, they saw the light, yeah, now they're Migayer with her 2-year-old girl, her name is Rainbow, and what? And they dunked her in the mikveh, okay, and what? And now she became Jewish, she became Prince Abela, and what? She may marry a Kohen. She may marry a Kohen. Very nice. Okay. Says Tanakama, we're going to get there soon to explain more. Mutar in love we're just finishing the sentence. Mutar in love meaning that girl which we're talking about, less than 3 years old, we are not like Reb Shimon ben Yochai. Our Mishnah does not follow Reb Shimon ben Yochai. Our Mishnah forbids a Giyaris of 2 days old, 1 day old, to do what? To marry a Kohen. And we do allow her to marry a Mamzer. That's the Nakama. Says Rabbi Yehuda, Oiser, she is not allowed to marry a Mamzer. Very nice. Okay. Back to Gemara. Why are you getting us mixed up with the below 3 and above 3, right? Just confusing. Back to Gemara. The Mishnah makes sense now. Why are you adding that detail? What makes you all of a sudden tell me that our Mishnah has to speak when? In a girl that's less than, a girl even less than 3, right? Even she, once born. Wow, a Giyaris once born is a Zoino. A Goya, a Goite. She was born a Goite. She was Megayer 2 days. She didn't make it to the communion. 2 days before, she was Megayer. Already, she's possible. Against Rab Shimon ben Yochai, which says she's kosher if she's below 3. Why? Why can't you say our Mishnah follows Rab Shimon ben Yochai, and a girl only above 3 Giyaris, a Giyaris above 3, only she cannot marry a Kohen? What does that do? Why? Why are you forced to say that? Says the Gemara, no, I'll tell you why. In Ken, if you'd say that, if you would have spoken about a girl who is above 3, right? And you tell me that the above 3 may not marry a Kohen, right? And may marry a Mamzer, but a girl below 3 is different. Look what's going to happen. Mitzida Tavro. The shovar, the answer to your question would be mitzida, would be next to the question. The answer is right there. Mitzida, by the side of the question, you have the shovar, the receipt. You have the something that breaks it. And the Gemara is going to explain why it does make sense. Bezras Hashem. Ella, let's see how the Gemara rejects it. You're telling me that a girl who's 3 years old in a day, what about her? The Tanakama says she may not marry a Kohen, and she therefore may marry a Mamzer. Remember now the formula we're trying to build, stop for a second, we're trying to build a formula that whoever cannot marry a Kohen may marry a Mamzer, according to Tanakama. And that now is not going to make sense. Look what's going to come out, something very bizarre. According to this, a girl below 3 who is allowed to be with a Kohen, according to Reb Shimon ben Yochai. According to Shimon ben Yochai, if little Miss Mackenzie, she was Megayer below 3 when she was a day or 2 years old or so, she is allowed to be with a Kohen. You're telling me she cannot marry a Mamzer? Because right now we think it's a package deal, right? Whoever's yes Kohen is no Mamzer. That's not true. The Reb Shimon ben Yochai, which you're trying to now vouch for, to say our Mishnah ben Yochai, the muteres lo b'kol kehuna umuteres lo b'zeh, it's not true. Are you telling me that if you follow that rule, she's allowed to be b'kal kehuna, right? Meaning what? She's allowed to marry a Kohen below 3, because Reb Shimon ben Yochai says something very logical. She's not a Zoina. Below 3, there's no bia. She's not a woman. And now you're telling me that the flip side of that is what? She's allowed to marry a Mamzer? That's not true. That's question number 1. Why isn't it true? Shtuyot. Because clearly, this girl, what is she? She's a Kal Gerim. Who cares when she was Megayer? She's still called Kal Gerim and not regular Kol. So clearly, she can marry a Mamzer, right? In other words, a Giyaris who was Megayer by the age of half a year old, let's say, then they made it to London based in, and she became a girl half a year old or so. Of course, later she will be able to marry a mamzer. Why? Because she's not Kal Yisrael, she's Kal Gerim. And therefore, your formula doesn't make sense. Yeah. And therefore, again, let's repeat. I can see confusion. Now we have it very clear. We want to say as follows. Tanakama, we believe right now that Tanakama has the following rule. Kol ha'asurin lova b'kol, mutorim lova zeh b'zeh. Meaning, whoever cannot marry a kohen is allowed to marry a mamzer. Good? We must say that this covers one type of person, Gioris. A Gioris may not marry a kohen and may marry a mamzer. And to cut a long story short with Rav Shimon ben Yochai, we have to say we're talking here about a Gioris who was even 1 day old. Why? Because mitzad the mamzer, even a 1 day old Gioris, she went to Bes Yaakov Hasidish room. But if she was Megar at the age of 1, she may marry a mamzer. And therefore she may not marry a kohen. Not therefore. So on the other side, she may not marry a kohen. But if you follow Reb Shimon ben Yochai, the rule is not true. According to Shimon ben Yochai, you have a sector in society called who? Giyaris below 3. Who is that girl below 3? Now who? What's the halacha according to Shimon ben Yochai? She may marry a kohen because she never really had relations with anybody, and she may also marry a mamzer. Okay, Shimon ben Yochai is a heilige Tana, but he's not our Tana, because our Tana says that whoever may not marry a kohen may yes marry a mamzer. Okay, and that cannot be Rashbi, because Rashbi says nishtazoi. Rashbi says a girl below 3, there's no bia. In other words, let's get real. What's the issue of not what a Gioris not marry a kohen? Zoina. A Gioris is called a Zoina because I don't know what she did in elementary school, in high school, all kinds of things. I don't know, abuse, marotz, and they start very young nowadays, And therefore, what? She can't marry a kohen. Very good. And she marry a mamzer. Fine. Well, very nice. Says Reb Shimon Yochai, that's only above 3. Below 3, there's no znus. And therefore, below 3, according to Rashbi, may yes marry a kohen and may also yes marry a mamzer. But for her to marry a mamzer has nothing to do with her boyfriend history. It's to do with what? To do with the fact she's not kohol. Therefore, our Mishnah must not be Reb Shimon Yochai. Our Mishnah says we were not Reb Shimon Yochai. We think once born, she's like a zoino. In general, we'll see the opinion. I think the Gemara will explain why in another daf or two, but that's how we hold. A Gioris once born, a Goya, a Goita once born, boom, possible a kohen. I don't care about the age, finished. So Mimela, we say very good. That girl from the age of 0 may not marry a kohen because she's rendered as zoino, even though she's not, but we view her that way. We define her that. On the other hand, she's not called, so she can marry a mamzer. Beautiful. So Tanakama works very nicely now. Whoever cannot marry a kohen may marry a mamzer, says Tanakama, and that's very good with the words. Love bekal kohanim. She may marry a mamzer. Says Rabbi, no. Rabbi says I don't believe in that. I think that gerim and gioros may not marry mamzer. Beautiful. Good. Baruch Hashem. Frag the Gemara, the klolo. Who is that? The rule? Are you sure that's such a strong iron rule? The kol asurim lova bekol kahuna mutorim lova zeh bezeh. Are you sure that this is true? Let's put that, litmus test. Are you sure that really any, let's say, woman who may not marry a kohen may marry a mamzer? Stop right there. I want you guys to don't look in the Gemara. Closed book test. Yeah, give me an example of a woman who may not marry a kohen. Very easy. We live by that every day. Baruch Hashem, not me. Yeah, but is a divorcee woman allowed to marry a mamzer? Yes or no? A regular divorcee woman. Of course not. We just broke the rule. Very nice. There it's. You asked the Gemara's question. Back the Gemara. The klolu, the kol asurim lova bekal keuna, mutom lova zeh bezeh. Are you serious? You're telling me that anybody cannot marry a kal keuna, any girl may not marry a kohen, automatically you're telling me is allowed to be zeh bezeh, which you define now as mamzerim? There's a whole list of them. Almona, who can Almana not marry? Kohen who? Which kohen? Godol. Almana cannot marry Kohen Godol. The Grusha, the Chalolo, the Zoino cannot marry any Kohen. The Asurim Lova Bekal Keuna, as we saw, Mefurish in the Torah, beginning of Parshas Emoir, and yet, Vasurim Lova Zebezeh, of course. Obviously, these girls are not allowed to marry Mamzerim, right? So your rule is wrong. So it's you're just downright wrong, yeah? It's not true what you're saying. Yeah, you can't tell me anybody who may not marry a Kohen automatically may marry a Mamzer. Not true. No, Reb Shimon Yochai only spoke about a Gioires. and he said the Giyoris below 3, he's first of all, Shimon Yochai is not Arcana here. He's out of the game. That's it. So I don't know what you're talking about. That's first of all. That's first of all. Yeah. 3 may marry both. Right. We're not talking about him. No. You got it wrong. I'm sorry. No. Of course he's Jewish. Gemer, Jewish. But a Giyoris once born is not Kohol. She's a Giyoris. She's a Giyoris, but she's not a Zoino. Therefore, she may marry a Kohen because she's not a Zoina. She may also marry a Mamzer because she's not Kohol. But he's not part of the game here. We're not talking about him. We're dafka targeting the other people. The two, and also, yeah, let's flip your rule. Let's now flip, yeah, the rule. Ha mutar osur. In other words, if you're telling me, look at Rashi, v'tu mutar osur. We have to see this Rashi a few lines below where we are. The two go about 6, 7, 8 lines from line starts with the two in Rashi. The two hamutar also look at Rashi, so it's always sharp. Midlo hitir love b'mamzeres el asus lekoyanim. You're telling me who is allowed to marry a mamzer? Let's say mamzer. Let's say which woman can marry a mamzer? The woman that she cannot marry a kohen. Besides the fact it's wrong, let's try now flip your rule. Yeah, hamutar bekal keuna also b'mamzeres. Are you telling me that the rule now automatically, if I'm telling you there's black and white, this is black, by default, this is white. Are you telling me that the one who's allowed to be Bikal Kehuna, people who are allowed to marry Kohanim, automatically are not allowed to marry Mamzeres? That's also not true. Get the flip? Are you telling me that people who are so choshuv that may marry Kohanim, right? All of them cannot marry Mamzerim? It's in most cases it's true. My daughters can marry Kohanim, they cannot marry Mamzer. Most people, all the people in this room, yeah, there's no Kohanim. The Kohen didn't come today. But there is one kind of person who may marry a Kohenes and may also marry Mamzeres. No. Who is this? According to, let's see. Mutar Osu, Bariger, Mr. Ger, I told you, Mackenzie himself, the man himself. Shemutar b'Kohenes, Mutar b'Mamzeres. A Ger has the widest choice of girls shidduchim. Yeah, he can marry a kohenes. Why can a ger marry kohenes? Because we said there is no ben. Very good. The kohanim are limited for marrying grush chalolo, but a kohenes may marry whoever she wants, as long as it's not a mamzer. And yet the ger the ger may marry kohenes, right? I don't care that he had a girlfriend. Seriously, I'm talking now. But Shenkin, on the other hand, a ger may marry a mamzeres. Yeah, because it's not called. So again, your rule is wrong. Again, your rule is wrong when you flip it around. You see, there is somebody who has both options. He has both plates on the menu, right? He has the kohenes and mamzer. So again, you're wrong. Ella, what is the 1 second? I'll leave here soon. Ella means a rejection. You know that. Whenever the Gemara puts in the word Ella, which translates as rather, but instead, Ella means we have rejected this pshat, and now we're going to reinterpret the first line of the Mishnah. Yes, questions break. Ella, therefore, now we're having a whole new pshat in the Mishnah. We rejected the previous pshat. Let's see if we can manage this one. This is what the Mishnah means. Kol shekohen also lisa es bitoy. Whoever, the kind of person whom a kohen may not marry his daughter. Umayniu, who is that person? Ger shenosa giyoris. Wow. Ukabelezer ben Yaakov. We're going to see the explanation in a later on Mishnah in a parak. Abelzer ben Yaakov holds, for reasons we'll see later, that even if a ger and a gioris had a baby girl after they were megayer, and the girl was born Jewish, still the kohen is not allowed to marry her. Wow. So that kind of ger, what do you mean that kind? A ger, meaning that kind of person whose daughter may not marry a kohen, mutar in love bazeh. He is allowed to marry a ger, that ger, that his daughter may not marry a kohen, that ger may marry zebazeh. He may marry a mamzeres, right? A ger is allowed to marry mamzeres. And again, and what did Rabbi Yehuda say? No. Rabbi Yehuda said, no. I believe gerim, like you would say, Alan, you're a Rabbi Yehuda supporter. Gerim are part of the nation completely, and therefore they may not marry mamzeres. Okay. Frag the Gemara, Beklolu, is that so? Is that rule? Would that rule hold water always? Let's give it a test. Are you telling me the kol shekon also says bitoy, any kind of person who you profile as a person whom daughter may not marry a kohen, mutom lo v'zeh b'zeh, Is that true that he can marry a mamzeres? Is that true? Not true. I'll prove you wrong. Arei cholol shenoso bas Yisrael. A cholol, a kohen cholol. He's already a cholol. What does it mean as a cholol? He was born from a kohen and a grusha. Let's say a kohen and zoin, a kohen and somebody. Bad. He's a cholol. He never duchan in his life. He doesn't need truma. Doesn't work in Beis Hamikdash. He was born that way. Arei cholol shenoso bas Yisrael. A cholol married a regular Jewish woman. Now the kohen also lisa bitoy. The machloikis, but this opinion, or the mainstream opinions hold, a kohen may not marry his daughter. Yeah, she's a cholol married regular woman, right? That cholol's daughter may not marry a kohen. So that person fits the profile you just portrayed, right? He's the kind of person whose daughter may not marry a kohen because he's a cholol, and yet, obviously, he's not allowed to marry a mamzeres. I'm asking a question, Rabbi saying, may a cholol marry a mamzeres? No, obviously not. No. The cholol may not marry a mamzeres, so you're wrong. So your rule is wrong. I just flipped it, right? In other words, does make sense. Here's a person whose daughter may not marry a kohen, and yet he himself may not marry a mamzeres. So your rule of no kohen, yes mamzer, fell through. Answers Gemara lo kasha. No, it's not difficult. That klal may survive. So far, Abdustoi ben Yehuda, which we saw many moons ago, Abdustoi ben Yehuda holds that a cholol who married a regular woman, he says B'nois Yisrael mikveh tahara lechalolim. B'nois Yisrael is a mikveh to chalolim. What happens when you go to the mikveh? Your wife goes to the mikveh, or ger goes to the mikveh, Tommy goes to the mikveh. They purify themselves, right? He says a cholol who married a regular woman, not the chololo, he married into a regular Jewish woman, the daughter becomes kosher. The daughter may marry a chol, may marry a kohen, may marry a kosher kohen. Very good. So therefore, makes sense. And chinami. Therefore, we say the one whose daughter may not marry. In other words, he doesn't fit the profile. He doesn't fit your case. We're looking for someone whose daughter may not marry a kohen. A cholol's daughter, may marry a kohen if he married a regular woman, right? And Mimela, that's why he is okay with a kohen. His daughter is okay with a kohen because his wife, the mother of the girl, is okay kosher woman, and therefore he too may not marry mamzeres. So he survived. Says the Gemara, it's going to die very soon. This child. Baricholol, I hinted to this before. Baricholol shenoso chalolo. What did I tell you? If a cholol married out kosher into regular Israelis, that's good. But a cholol who married what? A chalolo. He stayed with his own blemish, so to speak. He married into his own low level. A cholol married chalolo. The Kohen also lisa bitoy lekula alma. Now everyone, including Rabbi Stoy ben Yehuda, everyone believes that Mr. and Mrs. Cholol, the last name is Chalalovich, and their daughter is 100% Chololo. She may not marry a Kohen. Can this Cholol marry Mamzeres? No. The Osir Nami Lovazeh Bazeh. Again, your rule does not work because here we have a person whose daughter surely cannot marry a Kohen, and yet he may not marry a Mamzeres. So your rule of no Kohen, yes Mamzeres doesn't work. The two. And another question, again, on the flip side. We're flipping now as we did before. Mutar also. If you want to flip it now, that the same rule the other way around is going to work. You want to tell me that whoever may marry a Kohen, whoever's daughter may marry a Kohen, may not marry a mamzer? The other way around, the other way around of the rule, the flip side of the rule, that's also not true. But a ger shenoso bas Yisrael, right? A ger married a bas Yisrael. Okay, a regular ger married a bas Yisrael. That's easy. Mackenzie married the daughter of Rosh Yeshiva. How did that happen? It happened. It's allowed. The kohen mutar lisa bitoy. I want to ask you a question. The daughter of the ger, Mackenzie, but her mother is the daughter. She's a granddaughter of Baal Shem Tov. Is a kohen? Can a kohen marry the daughter who was born Jewish? Yes, he may. And yet that ger conceptually may marry a mamzeres. That's also wrong. You see. So your rule, the flip side of your rule, doesn't work either. Again, you see that guy whose daughter may marry a Kohen, a ger who married a regular girl, may yes also marry a mamzeres. So your rule doesn't work either way. Ella another rejection. Now we're trying another pshat. Ella Omar of Nachman Omar Rabba Baravua. By the way, this Ella is a big Ella, meaning right now, yeah, we said goodbye to Kohanim and all that. The whole business with yes, no Kohen, meaning the pshat who time and again try to explain the Mishnah as Kol Asurin Lova B'Kal Kohanim, Ciao Bambino. We're not talking about that now. We now have another pshat, and we're talking about real mamzerim. Let's see. Elam of Nachman Omar Rabba Baravua. Acha mamzer me'achoisoi u'mamzer me'eshes ish ika beinayu. We now want to differentiate between, as we're going to explain as we go along, the issue right now, meaning the machloikes between Tanakama, who spoke about Baba Kahol, and Rabbi Yehuda, which did not allow that loy Baba Kahol with a mamzer. The issue is the different types of mamzerim. Who's called a mamzer, who's not called a mamzer. There is a difference between mamzer me'achoisoi, mamzer me'eshes ish, and that's the difference between them. Before we continue, let's refresh our memories from Sanhedrin, and we also touched it in Kiddushin. If a person, lo aleinu chas v'sholem, has relations with an eshes ish, so of course the child's a mamzer, yeah, the child's a mamzer, that's true. And I'm asking now about punishments. Yeah, let's say that they were warned and they were caught and everything, and they're adim, and yes, 100% sure they sinned. What do you do to them? You give them a prize, send them to emotional therapy, psychology. In times of Beis Din, besides true, Hashem gives them course. Ask, what do you do in Beis Din? Kill him. I mean, after many chakiras, it's very unlikely, but conceptually the chayv misa. And that is what you give them chenek, regular shetish, not all the others. So regular run of the milah shetish, is chenek. Now, what happens to you? Also, it's true what you said. They have chorus. Yeah, if they get Mrs. Beis Din, as far as I remember, there's no chorus. It's a big, it's a very mitigating thing for them. What about a person lo aleinu is with a sister, the brother and sister? Brother and sister had relations. They were warned, blah 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 blah, and everybody knows, and were adim. What do you do to them in Beis Din? Nothing. Maybe Malchus, but no misa, no chiyuv misa, no chiyuv misa. Let's put it this way: there's no chiyuv misa, no chiyuv misa. Why? I don't know. Chorus. We are so programmed to think, and we're not wrong, that whether it's eshes tish, which is chayiv misa, or a choisoi, which is an example for one which is not chayiv misa but chayiv chorus in Shemaim, they're not going to have fun. Both cases are mamzer. Now we're going to re-examine this. That's exactly going to be the issue now. Is it so clear to everybody that both cases are mamzer? Apparently not. Apparently it's machlokes tanoim. That's going to be the issue now, and that is actually the bone of contention between Tanakama and Rabbi Yehuda, according to the current pshat. Let's see. So let's see. Tanakama sova. Tanakama holds sova. Tanakama thinks afil mamzer machoisoi, even mamzer from a choiso. What do you mean even? Even though a choiso brother sister do not get misa bidei odom, still nami have a mamzer. As you said, by the way, Yosef, what you said was true more about brother sister. They don't have any misi b'dei shemaim. They have chorus. Chorus chai v'krisus produce mamzer. Rabbi Yehuda sovar, that's a big news. Rabbi Yehuda sovar me'eshes ish havi mamzer ma'chois eloi havi mamzer. Wow. Let me explain. Yeah, Rabbi Yehuda says from eshes ish is mamzer because that's chai v'misa. Ma'choiso is horrible, terrible incest, brother sister. Terrible thing, but if she gives birth, he's not a mamzer, the kid, says Rabbi Yehuda. How does that plug into the words of our Mishnah? Very nicely. Tanakama said, Kol hasurin lo b'kohol, says Tanakama, any kind of person who cannot ba b'kohol. What does Tanakama consider? Who does Tanakama consider can't come to the call? Any mamzer, even from brother and sister. Says Rabbi Yehuda, no. If somebody is a child or brother and sister, he may not marry a mamzer. You know why? Because he's not a mamzer. It's a backward say. It's through the left, kind of interesting way of saying the same thing. What you call mamzer, I don't allow to marry mamzeres because I don't think he's a mamzer because he's a result of the relations between people who are only chorus and not chayv misa. And that's the machlokas, nothing to do with really kohanim v'chulei. Frag the Gemara, my kamash malan, what's the chiddush? Why do you have to tell me this machlekes over here in the middle of Kiddushin, Tnina. It's a Meforsha Mishnah in Yevomis. Yeah, as far as I remember, it's in Yevomis. What does it say over there in the Mishnah? Ezu mamzer. Yeah, the Mishnah over there asked a good question. Who is a mamzer? Who? Sinwar. Ezu mamzer. Kol shu belo yovoy divrei Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva, as we know, was very strict with mamzer. Remember, he said, "Bo v'nitzvach al Akiva ben Yosef." Right? They said, "Let's scream at Akiva ben Yosef," because Rabbi Akiva said that any person who is breaking a lav, except for kohanim and chololos, is already what? Belo yovoy is a mamzer. So says Rabbi Akiva. Right? Rabbi Akiva says anybody, for example, an eved. Oh, that's a good one, right? Lo yakodesh. An eved and a regular girl, or vice versa, mamzer. Yeah, because you're not allowed to be with them. Rabbi Akiva is much stricter. With no chorus, no chiyuv misa. If you just broke a lav, it's already a mamzer. Shimon a timni oimer. It's not timon, it's timni. That's the second opinion. Shimon a timni oimer. Kol shachyovin olav chorus bidei shamayim. Oh, Shimon a timni seems to be saying like Art Tanakama over here. Anybody that's chiyuv chorus bidei shamayim, even though human beings will not do anything to him, will not do misa. It's only bidei shamayim. Already the kid is a chorus, such as is a mamzer, such as brother and sister. Yeah, and that is v'alocha k'dvorov. The Mishnah right away says we follow him la'alocha. Rabbi Yeshua says kol shechai v'nolav misas bezdin. Rabbi Yeshua says no, I more mekel. Only people that chai misa and bezdin, such as ishes ish or mother and son, they are mamzer, but brother and sister are not. So what? Why? So why making a whole new machlekes with such a strange, hard to read Mishnah? All the Mishnah should have done. Rabbi Yakodesh, Rabbi Adanasi, he knew how to write Mishnahs. All he should have done was just add more names to the Mishnah over there in Yevomis, right? He should have said Tanakama like him, yeah. And Rabbi Yehuda is like Rabbi Yehuda that says only Chayiv Misa. He should say like Rabbi Yoshua. Finished, right? Ella. Wow. Again we reject. Why? We come now with a new pshat, yeah. Again, what are we looking for? Let's not get confused. We're looking for that secret formula. What on earth did Tanakama mean when he said Kol asur in lova b'kol, mutar in lova zeh b'zeh? Who are these people who may always, and this rule has to be iron rule that always applies, yeah? Who is that segment of society that may not marry the kohol, whatever the kohol means, and may marry mamzerim? And it has to be somebody the Rabbi Yehuda argues on, yeah? Elo marove, ger amoini umoyavi ika beinayu. Interesting, yeah? The ger, which is an amoini umoyavi ika beinayu. You tell me, my friends, a girl who came from Ammon and Moav, a male, Shavuos next week. How come Ruth was allowed to marry such a choshev mensch from Yehuda like Boaz? She was from Moav. Women were allowed. Boaz darshaned, Moavi, v'lo Moavis. But if it was the other way around, had Ruth been a man, if Ruth was a man, would she be able to be the grandfather? I'm not joking. No, let's say, and Boaz was a choshev woman, the other way around, let's say, would she be able to, no, she wouldn't be able to be the grandfather of David. Why? A Moavi man or an Ammoni man may not marry forever. Them or the male descendants, as long as you know who they are not allowed to marry the regular Jewish women. They may marry who? Obviously, Gioros, because they're not called. Oh, so now that's a good guy. Oh, here's somebody. Yeah, remember, we have a formula like in math with an X, with a variable. Oh, we found Amayne Moavi. That's a good thing to stick over here. Why? Amayne Moavi may clearly not marry the kohol, anybody, almost. They cannot marry a regular Jewish girl, but they marry who? A mamzer. Yeah, mamzeres, suggest actually. Yeah, Amayne Moavi may marry a mamzeres. Yeah, because they're not a kohol. Very nice. And what does Rabbi Yehuda say? Rabbi Yehuda said no, that they may not marry a mamzeres. That's interesting. So that's the difference between them. Interesting. So now he's suggesting that according to Rabbi Yehuda, let's continue. Actually, the Gemara will do the job for me. Anybody who may not, who's strictly forbidden from marrying the regular, to marry into the regular mainstream Jewish community, who are they? Ger, male, Ammoni Moavi, nice. They're allowed to marry a mamzeres. Okay, because she's not called, she's different. So what does it mean? You telling me Rabbi Yehuda Oyser? No way. Again, Ellen, Who did Rabbi Yehuda say may marry a mamzeres, a regular girl? Why? A ger is the kohol. Rabbi Yehuda says, I view gerim at a higher standard, and they're regular Jews, so they can't marry mamzeres. We can't say that with the Amoni Moavi. With all goodwill in the world, yeah, I assume the son of the Moavi should be accepted to yeshiva, and you have to be nice to him and give him food and money and smile to him every morning. But even Rabbi Yehuda, the more liberal with the gerim, even he has to agree that a Amoni Moavi, yeah, you can't call them kohol. They're definitely out of the call. So they cannot marry the regular Jewish woman. So you want to tell me that Amoni Moavi may not marry mamzeres? That's not true. Of course he can marry mamzeres. So Tanakama, the X of Tanakama is beautiful. But if Rabbi Yehuda would be the Y in the formula, it doesn't begin to work. How far does Rabbi Yehuda go? He cannot call Amoni Moavi kohol, therefore forbid them from mamzeres. Now we're completely changing the Mishnah. Look at Rashi, the second to last line at the beginning of the line. Wow. Unbelievable. The entire first part of the Mishnah is really Rabbi Yehuda and Chachamim talking together. It's one, we made peace and unity. Up until now, we thought it's Chachamim versus Rabbi Yehuda. It's really Chachamim working with Rabbi Yehuda. And this is now what we're adding on Tanakama. Rabbi Yehuda is now agreeing to Tanakama with a chiddush. Let's see how it works. Continues Rabbi Yehuda and says, you know what? For a change, I agree with you on that one. Although Rabbi Yehuda oiser ger b'mamzeres, usually a regular ger from China, from America, from Norway, from Africa, a regular ger, not a Amoni Moavi. He's a regular Jew, he's part of the call, and therefore I, Rabbi Yehuda, argue with you normally, and they say he may not marry mamzeres. That's only true regarding a regular ger, regarding a ger from Seattle. He may come to the call. But the Amoni man, a Moavi man who may not come to the call, who may not marry the regular, may not join the community so smoothly and clearly. Such a person, even I agree, may really may not marry he may marry a mamzeres. So let's reread the Mishnah. You can flip the page if you want. The Mishnah said, Kol asurin lova b'kol mutorim lova zeh b'zeh. Anybody that's also lova b'kohol, meaning, let's say, Amoni Moavi may not marry the regular Jewish women. No, they may not ever. Mutorim lova zeh b'zeh. They may marry the, mamzerim, or an Amoni or Moavi may marry mamzeres. And Rabbi Yehuda oiser means that Rabbi Yehuda, even though Rabbi Yehuda the oiser, it's like an adjective, even Rabbi Yehuda the forbidder, Rabbi Yehuda the one who answers normally, even he agrees to Tanakama. Even he who otherwise says that a ger may not marry a mamzeres, because the ger is a call, in such an extreme case of a Amoni Moavi, they surely are not part of the nation. Again, be nice to them, smile to them, give them food, give them gifts, give them kisses. But in the Maisa, you may not let them marry your daughter. Yes, such they can marry Gioires, and surely they can marry mamzeres. They can marry mamzeres because they're really not of the call, even according to Rabbi Yehuda. I can see it's bothering you. Questions? Yeah. Question time. Yeah. Is in group. Let's just summarize what we discussed now. When the camera was off. What happens if an Amoni Moavi marry a regular Jewish girl, which is an Isur Doraisa, lo yovoi Amoni Moavi b'kal Hashem. So now they broke the halacha. It's a very bad thing. They have to get divorced. Beis Din would make sure they do get divorced. However, the marriage, according to most opinion, applies. Now, is a kid mamzer? Depends who you ask. According to Rabbi Akiva, the child is a mamzer because they chayve lavim, they broke a lav. According to all other opinions, they're not. The kid is not a mamzer because it's not chiyuv misa and not even chiyuv koros. So the halacha, the kid is not a mamzer from Amoni. Today, by the way, the Shulchan Aruch already says in Nosekel, we don't know who are the Amoni Moavim because really Amoni Moavim Sancheriv mixed up everybody. Today we're all mixed up people, and therefore the melting pot, the salad bowl, all nations are all together. We don't know who's Amoni, and most probably is not an Amoni. So any ger can marry a regular Jewish woman, right? I would stop here with your permission. I'm sorry that I did not continue. As I said, I was not so prepared, but we survived it. Thank you, Atzlacha Bracha. Thank you to everybody who watches Torah Anytime. Amazing site, Torah Anytime. Yes. And YouTube. You should donate money to Torah Anytime. They're looking all the time for funds. Please do help them. Atzlacha uvrocha b'chol inyanim. And we have a very good week of peace, tranquility, Dusha, and the coming of Mashiach. Shkoyach Gadol.